Hello and welcome to Camp Xtras. The Game Boy Color is chock full of licensed games, but today we have something special. Dexter's Laboratory Robot Rampage, a licensed game that rips off an established gaming franchise. All footage was captured off of a Retron 5, and let's go ahead and hop into this one. This trip goes all the way back to 1996 when Dexter's Laboratory first aired on Cartoon Network. It was a cartoon created by Genndy Tartakovsky about a boy genius who hides his lab in his bedroom and creates insane experiments, which are often thwarted by his older sister Dee Dee. This show was a major success for Cartoon Network, and it was its highest rated original series for several years during its run. Yet by 1999, the show had its first series finale, but still remained popular. At the same time, publisher BAM acquired the rights to Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, and Yogi Bear from Cartoon Network. So it was a no-brainer to release a game for the franchise in 2000 on the then main handheld, the Game Boy Color. This would be the cartoon's gaming premiere, with Ultron serving as the developer. Well, at the same exact time, Ultron was working on a port of Elevator Action for the Color titled Elevator Action EX, which I do not own, so it's shown here in emulated form. Elevator Action was a classic arcade game from Taito where you traveled in elevators collecting secret documents in a tower as you climbed up and down. The reason I bring this up is that Ultron decided that Dexter's Lab would just be a reskin of this game. See, Elevator Action EX actually never made it to North America. It only came out in Japan and Europe. So that means Dexter's Lab would actually be North America's version of Elevator Action EX, whereas they would never get Dexter's Lab. A very odd and elaborate ruse, but this game would make its North American premiere on November 23rd, 2000. And personally, I've never played this game, but I did love Dexter at the time. As I said in my other Dexter game review, the GBA game is one that I grew up with, so I was interested to see what came before it. And let me break down how I felt about it with the review, starting with the gameplay. To lightly go over the plot, you play as Dexter, and the evil boy genius Mandark has taken over your lab. He has reprogrammed your bots and plans to blow up your lab unless you collect all the codes to reprogram them, asking you to explore every room in order to save your lab. That is it for the plot, which is only told in very brief cutscenes with only Mandark's face. Plot isn't a focus in this game, so it won't factor much into the review. I will say though, I wish there was maybe a bit more, just to help get into the Dexter theming. Otherwise, it feels very pointless. The game is split into 16 levels, and each level plays pretty much the same. Here you have a tall skyscraper-style building, you move between floors on elevators or stairs, and you enter rooms. One room type will change your weapon or add health to your character. These are optional, but the other doors have secret codes, and these are needed to beat the level. You collect all of those, and then when you reach the top or bottom, you move on to the next set of floors. It's simply just Elevator Action if you've played that game before, but that's not a bad thing because that makes this quite entertaining. As far as the gameplay style goes, it's great arcadey fun. Moving between levels, shooting at robots, and going to doors is solid stuff. Something about it is quick and easy to understand, and it's the right amount of arcade fun to keep it engaging. Yet that is just the gameplay style, which is fun, but this is one of those games that once you sink your teeth into it, problems start to appear. For one, entering doors and going downstairs is surprisingly finicky. These ask you to hit up to enter doors or down to go downstairs, and you do that when you're near them, but your placement on the screen has to be exact or you will not get in or move up. This makes the frantic action where you're moving around everywhere to dodge bullets less frantic because you have to fight with the D-pad in order to enter doors. There is a combat aspect to this game where robots will shoot at you both high and low, asking you to duck or jump over their shots. For the first 3 sets of levels, this works fine, and I quite like the simple combat, but the final 4 levels are dastardly. These pile enemies on you in ways that is almost unfair, and the final boss is nasty with its difficulty, making for an endgame that comes off with a great difficulty spike just to make the game longer. Luckily though, you get unlimited continues, so you can at least stick to it as long as you can till you beat it. I will also add that the weapons that you get are pretty weak, and the starting weapon is the best one. The laser guns are fine, but they do the same thing as the base gun, they just might shoot a little faster. The grenades you can get though are awful. The lob on it is miserable, and I never felt like it was thrown correctly, so you are good to skip over all of that. I do, however, like the actual gameplay design and the loop here. Going up and down elevators in a puzzling way is great, such as needing to take specific elevators up and down so you can get to an area that's blocked off. I think that's a great idea, especially when you're fighting off enemies along the way. There are a few times where you can end up in dead ends with slow elevators that take forever to reach you, but this only happens a few times. I do wish the other skins that you can get and play as with Dexter added something to the gameplay, but they're simply just an extra look. So I would say the character select screen here is pretty pointless. Otherwise, the gameplay loop is strong, and I feel like that keeps replay value high, meaning it's got a fun core, but has various flaws that overshadow some of the gameplay, making the gameplay a bit frustrating at times, and fun on others, delivering a very mixed bag gameplay experience. Robot Rampage is a very simple game in design. Here you get Dexter, that at least looks like himself, and Mandark shows up as well. The robots here look just like they do in the show, but as far as Dexter goes, that's the only thing you will get related to the show. The environments barely resemble a lab. I know this is just a reskin, but it's definitely just lazy. Despite that disappointment, I do think the look is simple and colorful. The environments do look clear, and I like the color palette and how it transitions between different areas. Now the look is fine, but the environments do repeat themselves otherwise. You see the same enemies over and over. It's a bit bland in terms of variety, so it looks fine for the console, but lacks a lot going on, all combined for a game that is nothing special visually for the Game Boy Color, which stinks because they really could have played into the Dexter's lab environments a bit better to give it a better visual identity. As far as sound goes though, it's pretty bad. I found the sound effects like the gunshots to be fairly ear-piercing, yet it's the music I really don't like. This game will trick you. The first song is a really fun ditty, yet the second song is okay, and then the final two songs are ear-piercing just like the sound effects. Like, I had to turn down the game's volume because these songs were so bad. Those two songs caught me off guard. And sure, one song is great, but having any music in a game that is below middling makes the game sound bad overall, making it very weak in the audio department. Dexter's Laboratory Robot Rampage is good at first glance. The structure of the game is fun, and the first song is decent, but otherwise it's a waste of potential. Bad songs and uninspired graphics, finicky controls, and an unfair endgame. The bones are here to make for something replayable, and I wouldn't say no to playing it again, but it's far from my first choice, and it's also just not that good of a game, making for a game that's not really worth your time. I have not reviewed any other Game Boy Color games to rank them, but I have reviewed one other Dexter's Lab game, and this one's gonna rank below Disaster Strikes. That game captured the show's feel and had much more imaginative gameplay. There's not really much like it, and I can appreciate that. Robot Rampage does not have a Metascore, but based on reviews, it seems to have gotten average reviews. IGN gave it a 7, saying that the gameplay was zippy and fun, but they hated how hard it was to get into doors. GameSpot gave it a 6.9, but their review reads fairly positive, saying that it would please older gamers and new fans of the show. Nintendo Power gave it a 3 out of 5, calling it pure, simple, arcade classic fun. The lasting impact on this one seems fairly minimal, as finding sales or anything like that is hard to find. I don't think I've ever heard anyone mention this version of this game. Of course, I've heard of Elevator Action, which would go on to get a GBA version in Japan, and it would be included in Taito collections and live on at arcades like Dave & Buster's with a new Elevator Action game called Elevator Action Invasion. Dexter's Lab would get a few more games and actually a brief revival soon after this game in 2001, and it's a nostalgic classic for many. On Backlogged, over 70 people have claimed to have played this one, and it sits at a 2.5 out of 5 average, cementing a bit of a lackluster success, and it doesn't seem that many cared for it. Yet, did you ever play this game? Let me know if you loved it or if you hated it in the comments. If you haven't even played it, just let me know what Game Boy Color games I should check out, or if you'd even want to see some more Game Boy Color reviews. Subscribe to keep up with more videos like this, and check out my main channel, Camp Xbox, for specifically retro Xbox videos. Leave a like as it really helps me out in the algorithm, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xtras.